what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. What is it? Tuesday night already? Whoa. That can't be good. Or maybe it is really good. I don't know. All I know is that I've got tons and tons of news tonight. This is probably going to go on for a while. So it's a Tuesday night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. And let's get into it, folks. What are we going to talk about? Well, let's go through the menu. We've got J.D. Vance is going to sit down with Joe Rogan. And it looks like Kamala is not. And we all knew that, right? Nobody's surprised by this. We all knew that was not going to happen. We'll get into this story. Then I got quite a bit of stuff that I put together for this. Washington Post loses over 200,000 after Jeff Bezos declines to allow outlet to endorse Kamala Harris. So we're going to go through his letter that Jeff Bezos wrote. And we're just going to take a look at a bunch of stuff I put together to kind of put it all into context. And that will probably take a little while, but it'll be fun. I promise you. Top Democrat or trans Democrat arrested for threatening to kill Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. Well, look at this delicate flower here. Who could imagine this beautiful, delicate flower ever committing any violence whatsoever? Good Lord. What's the world coming to? So we'll take a look at that. Let's see. Kamala Harris posed for pics, celebrated San Francisco bride with Catholic mocking drag queen from Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. No word yet on if they threatened to kill Trump. Probably, but I don't know. Let's see. So this comes on the heels of Christians not voting. There's news about Christians not voting. We've got some information on that. It's something we have to discuss. Christians not voting. It seems like kind of a bad idea. Kamala has given some indications that maybe she hates Christians, quite possibly. Seems pretty likely. So we will talk about that as well. New York Times is getting ready to put out, I guess maybe it's coming out tomorrow, a hit piece. So I guess this is an October surprise, like something like that. Where New York Times is going to put out a hit piece on Tucker Carlson. Let's see, Tim Pool. They sent out one of these letters. We'll go through this letter, and it's Tucker's response is hilarious, by the way. Also, we got Benny Johnson, and there's others as well. So we'll talk about that. They just can't stop themselves. They just can't stop themselves from being propagandists. And of course, it's going to come right before the election. And I'm sure the New York Times is very full of itself and imagines it's going to have some great influence. They must know that it actually won't. That nobody's going to believe it. Everybody knows what they're up to. It's not going to reach any further than the people who read them already. And of course, those people are never going to vote for Trump because they've been massively propagandized by the New York Times. So maybe it's just a virtue signal. Hey, look at us. We're still corrupt. They're doing this in conjunction with Media Matters, by the way. We'll take a little look at them. And we're actually even going to take a little look at their finances, because that's quite interesting. So what do we have here? We've got just a bunch of election stuff here. We got Dave Smith here talking to just total far leftist lunatics. Steve Bannon is out. He's been released. So we shall talk about that. We'll listen to him. Got a couple of videos from him. Got something from Michael Schellenberger here talking about all the major elements of the FBI and CIA conspiracy to interfere in the 2020 election on behalf of Joe Biden are now confirmed. So, I mean, that's not really coming as much of a surprise. Here's from Catherine Herridge. So we'll take a look at that. We've got a lot to go over. This is going to be a long one tonight. So this stream will probably go like at least 5 hours, I'm thinking for sure. Let's see. We've got tons of stuff. Let's see. We've got Charlemagne the God, somebody calling themselves, I believe his real name is Leonard, but he's calling himself Charlemagne the God. And he's claiming to Andrew Schultz here that he thinks that he's as big or bigger than Joe Rogan. And I don't think so. I don't think so. Charlemagne the God is a genuinely stupid man. In that Breakfast Club, I said this before, I watched Larry Elder on there, who's actually brilliant. And the three people, him and the other two people on the Breakfast Club, it was like Larry Elder debating children. It was brain melting. How stupid and just propagandized, or maybe they're just lying. I mean, I guess there's a lot of money in just being a show for the Democrats in New York City. I think that's where the show is. Maddening. Anyway, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, Steve Bannon, another video from Steve Bannon there, who's out now, and he's not bowed, by the way. He's never bent the knee. She's been spitting some fire, this Batsha Ungar Sargon. She's talking about why they compare Trump to Hitler. I showed you a video from her a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, and yeah, she's on fire right now. Got this. Tim Walz had a secret fling with a top CCP official's daughter. Uh-oh. Tim Walz from the Daily Mail. We'll take a look at it. Let's see. Apparently he was not nice either. Like, not a good guy. Tim Walz wasn't a good guy. Just goofy. Let's see. We got a bunch of stuff. All right. We don't need to go through all of this. What's going on with Chris Cuomo? Do you believe he's legit now, or he's just pandering? He's just moving in the direction that he thinks would be most successful for him. You always have to question a guy who would lie about being under quarantine during the coup. That's pretty low. And swearing to it, even after he was caught. Pretty low. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really trust him at all. But the things that he's saying sound like they do make sense now, which is interesting. Tons and tons of stuff, people. Look at all this. Jeez, how are we going to get through all of this? This is impossible. How's everybody doing out there? Let me know in the chat. Let me know that the audio's looking good or sounding good and everything looks good on your side. Everything's working properly. Please let me know in the chat. That will be helpful. So many things to look at. Look at all this. It's going to take us forever. Let's see. Do we have something from Canada? If we can get through this, this is a long thread, or not super long, but it's a thread from Jonathan Kay about just the dystopian wokeness in Canada and the lunacy. You really wouldn't believe it. I think it's even worse in the States, I have to say. We're talking about Tony Hinchcliffe and the context of the joke he made about Puerto Rico, which the mainstream media is not going to tell you, even though they're aware of it. Let's see. I'm just going to try something. Just make sure that the chat is actually working here. All right, let me try that. There we go. It is working. Let's see. This one, hold on. Let me update that. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about, obviously we're going to talk about Kamala a bit. If we have time, we'll go through this stuff. There's some Trump stuff and the Rogan stuff that we can revisit. And got tons and tons of stuff. Let's just look at this quickly. I just like this. I don't understand it. I don't know what's happening here, but I just like it.
My name is Kamala Harris, and I come from a middle-class family. And I just went to say, vote for Donald Trump. My name is...
What is that? What the hell is that? I don't know what it is, but I love it. That's like the funnest thing that I've seen today. I have no idea what it is, what it means, really. It's just kind of awesome and hilarious for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what's happening in their minds there. Let's see. Oh, it is a joke video from the Babylon Bee. I talk about why they're endorsing Kamala Harris. It's quite funny. We'll take a look at that. What's going on here? Take a look at this. Take a look at this. We're going to get to all this stuff later in the show, but I'm just giving you a taste now of what's happening. What does that say? Does that say Taxes are gay. Hey, Xerxes, how you doing? Good to see you. All right. Another white dude for Harris. Boy, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. She's making fun of Kamala Harris. She's very funny too. Good. Andrew Schultz there. Blah, blah, blah. There is lots of stuff. Lots and lots and lots of random stuff. What's this? Is this, here's Ricky Gervais. I think this is a bit old, but we always enjoy that. Here's Tony Hinchcliffe, who's offended everybody in the world. This is him from the Tom Brady roast, and it was quite good. And for some reason, these ladies have hairy armpits. They like it. They like showing them off. Don't really get it myself. I don't think it's the best. Let's see. Liz Cheney. She's crazy. Anyway, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff. And for the lads, if the news gets you down, if this all starts getting you down, it's a bit too much. You just need a palate cleanser. You just need something kind of just relaxing and peaceful. We can go to the cooking shows. Here, there's one making a sandwich here. Great sandwich show. Best sandwich show ever. And then, of course, if you like noodles, we also have the noodle show. And it's very nice. I find this show very relaxing and kind of hypnotic for some reason. I don't know why. I just find it very hypnotic. It relaxes me. And it kind of it cleanses my mind. It's a palate cleanser. Very nice. As Xerxes says, Bannon is back. He is. And Xerxes says, Cuomo is pandering. Yeah, I mean, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's had an epiphany or something like that. But I think you believe him at your own peril, I would say. All right. Shall we just get to it? Let me have a sip of rant juice first. Let's see. Xerxes sounds good. Where are the people? I don't know where the people are. I don't know what's happening. Normally normally the chat is roaring by now already. And no, I don't know where everyone is. It's weird. Everybody knows it's Tuesday night. Surely they know. I was wondering because it was like there was nobody even waiting when I started the stream, and that's very strange. So yeah, I was wondering what the hell. I thought, was there some news that's breaking right now? But I don't think so. Did World War III start? Did Biden start World War III? And everybody's watching that? I don't know. If World War III started, could somebody in the chat please put that in there? Just so we know. Start digging my bomb shelter immediately. All right. So, Vance to sit down with Joe Rogan after Harris appearance scrapped. Now, Joe Rogan has been saying that, she didn't refuse to go on it, just she had a bunch of conditions and that he's not willing to meet those conditions. I mean, Trump just showed up at his studio and stayed for 3 hours, right? Apparently didn't have a sip of water, didn't get up to use the bathroom, nothing. Harris wants him to fly somewhere else, and they can only do an hour. They had a bunch of topics that wasn't supposed to discuss. And he's just like, no, Joe Rogan show is in my studio, and this is just how I do it. And, Now, of course, she was never going to do the show. There would always be something, there's going to be some condition that would make it impossible, because her campaign knows she can't sit down. She couldn't do an hour, never mind 3 hours. Now, if she does an hour, it still looks bad because Trump did 3, and he's 78. She's only 60. She's that exciting, dynamic new generation of 60-year-olds, apparently, that bring all the joy. But yeah, they were always going to find an excuse to not do it. They were always going to make it impossible for it to happen, because they know she can't, even for an hour. There's no way. She has no charisma. She's not interesting. I mean, one of the things about the Trump interview was that I was surprised by the granular level he was able to go to on so many different topics. They keep saying that he has no curiosity, he doesn't read, and blah, 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 blah. No, clearly he does have a lot of curiosity. Clearly, he's listening. When people are telling him things, he's listening. When they show him stuff, he's actually looking at it. Because that was kind of a bit of a revelation for me. I knew he knew what he was doing, but I didn't realize he knew that much about that much. It's pretty impressive. Kamala Harris has not shown any of that, any potential for that whatsoever, any evidence or potential for it. She has a really hard time asking questions that she knows are coming. She has a very difficult time answering questions that she knows she must have known were coming. Like, what would you do different? What would you do different than the administration, the unpopular administration that you've been in for the last 4 years? What would you do different? She must have known that was coming. And yet, I wouldn't do anything. It was all great. What? What? Huh? You wouldn't change a thing? That doesn't make any sense. Things were bad. People don't like it. People don't like what you did. I mean, just putting it out on a silver platter for her. I can't think of anything. Weird, right? Weird. So, former President Trump did a 3-hour interview on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast Friday. And now it's not Kamala Harris that we're getting going back on. Now it's JD Vance, who's going to do great. He'll do just as well, if not better than Trump. I don't see how this can be losing. Now, because it's the vice president, that always has much less impact. Just the way that the vice president debate never really, maybe this year it had more of an impact because Walz kind of flopped so badly. But typically, it's not, people aren't voting for the vice president. The vice president doesn't have that much influence over the election, very little. Maybe this year is different, though. So the fact that he's going to sit down with Rogan instead of Harris, I mean, that's not good for Harris. And of course, JD Vance is going to excel in that interview. Of course he is. He's great. He's been fantastic. Both him and Trump have been fantastic on the podcasts that they've been on. I just watched a clip from, I think I've got it coming up actually with Theo Vaughn with JD Vance, and it's hilarious. Here's what Joe Rogan tweeted. For the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is just to have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen. So he's just trying to be a nice guy. He's trying to be nice about it. You know, he's going to make it, but it doesn't matter how nice he is or how comfortable he tries to make her feel or what topics they avoid. She has no charisma. She's not interesting, and she knows nothing. Kind of hard to fill even an hour with that. You can't fill an hour with, I was raised in a middle-class family and unburdened by what has been another kind of Marxist sayings. You've got to be interesting. You need to be able to speak without a teleprompter. So, I mean, I knew, and I think you guys all out there, we all knew Kamala wasn't going to do it. She's not capable of it. She was never supposed to have to do that. The machine was supposed to do all the work. Right? The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, Nightly News, ABC, CBS, they were supposed to do, let's not forget Google, which is working for, Meta. They're all supposed to do the work for her. She wasn't supposed to actually have to do anything. They started her out with the bunker strategy, just like Joe, remember? And then we were told that it was joy, that it was actually everything that everybody was experiencing was something called joy. A lot of people didn't feel like it was joy, and this doesn't feel like joy, but they were told it's joy, and also brat as well. So apparently people were very excited to have a brat president, apparently, or maybe not so much, maybe not that much. So it turns out they couldn't just do the bunker strategy with her, the Biden bunker strategy. They actually had to get her out in public. because Trump was out there and it was working. His plans were working. So they had to get her out there, and then it didn't. They should have considered, the machine should have considered that they might have to actually get her to talk in front of people. If they'd done that, they would have picked somebody else. But they didn't. I think there was so much hubris. They were so arrogant in the ability of the machine, big tech and media, to just force through anything. Somebody, and it didn't matter who it was, didn't matter how untalented or how unlikable or how uncharismatic the person was, they could just win. And you can understand that arrogance. You can understand their confidence because the machine is powerful. Keep in mind, they could get literally just a random person off the street. They could get, I'd say the lowest they could expect to get in a popular vote would be 43%. And I'm talking like the worst. I'm talking just like some like homeless guy with like no teeth or like one tooth at the front who's constantly smoking crack, like on camera everywhere at the rallies. He's smoking crack at the podium. That guy would get no lower than 42% of the popular vote just because of the machine. They would say you're racist and transphobic if you don't vote for crack bum, essentially. Because the machine is powerful. They've reasoned, but it's the old saying, right? Like you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And they were hoping to fool enough of the people, enough of the time, and they overestimated that. And, well, it's not working out now. So, ideally, you'd put her on Joe Rogan, but only if she could actually do something with it. A spokesperson for Vance. Now, Vance will do very well. He'll excel with this, as he's excelled with all of his other appearances, even the hostile ones. A spokesperson for Vance confirmed to Fox News Digital that the Republican vice presidential nominee will sit down with Joe Rogan Wednesday morning in Austin, Texas. The announcement came shortly after Rogan revealed on X there were negotiations to have Vice President Kamala Harris appear on his show Tuesday. Well, those fell through. Well, he's saying that, they haven't officially passed, but we know it's not going to happen. Hey, JJ, how you doing? We're trying to figure out where everyone is, JJ. Have you seen everybody? Seen anybody else? Where is everybody today? We have no idea where they all went. Don't they know it's Tuesday night? All right. I'm sure everybody's going to catch up with us eventually. We do have like 6 hours or 5.5 hours from now. So, yeah, we'll be here a while. Let's see. All right. So that's it. There you have it. JD Vance. And when did they say he's going to be on there? Wednesday. So tomorrow. I wonder if I should live stream that. We live streamed the Friday one with Trump. I wonder if we should live stream tomorrow night. I don't know if I can do another 3-hour long Joe Rogan podcast live stream, though. I found that actually weirdly more exhausting than like the regular show. All right. Anyway, let's get rid of this tab because I got too many tabs. All right. So let's actually take 1 second here. I just want to check out the noodles for a second and have a sip of coffee. Oh, that's nice. All right. We're 27 minutes into this already. Wow. Washington Post loses it. Over 200,000. Sorry, Washington Post loses. Here we go. We'll start over again. Am I having rant juice or Biden juice? I might be having Biden juice. My brain's not working. Washington Post loses over 200,000, that's subscribers, after Jeff Bezos declines to allow outlet to endorse Kamala Harris. So it doesn't matter that right up until that moment, the Washington Post had given its readers everything they had wanted without exception. TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, far leftist propaganda. Every moment, right up until that moment when it was announced that they wouldn't be endorsing a presidential candidate, and by that we mean obviously Kamala Harris, because that's the only possible option, and that's who they were preparing to endorse. Obviously, nothing could be more obvious than that. That's part of the problem, right? Like, you knew who it was going to be. It could have been a canned ham. A canned ham could be the nominee, and you knew that the Washington Post would endorse the canned ham because they'd say the canned ham has a great team. So right up until that moment, the Washington Post subscribers had gotten everything they want, exactly what they want. And of course, that's why they were subscribing to the Washington Post, because they would only see what they wanted to see, and they would learn nothing new. They would get nothing to challenge their preconceived notions. And the second something happens that does challenge them or just disappoints them, it's not like they endorsed Donald Trump. They just are not endorsing anybody. The second that happens, the second that they do something they don't like, boom, 200,000 gone. They're saying they don't want the Washington Post. They don't want their media to be objective. That's the message here. 200,000 subscribers for the Washington Post said, we don't want you to be objective. We want you to tell us what we want to hear. That's it. That is the customer base they've cultivated over the years. So it's interesting, isn't it? Isn't it so interesting? All right. Let's get to, well, hold on one second. Washington Post owner and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos spoke out Monday about the decision, referring. Hold on. Washington Post owner and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos spoke out Monday about the decision, referencing the low opinion that many Americans have for the mainstream media, which he argued has managed to fall below Congress, their popularity. Our profession is now the least trusted of all. So, no endorsement for president on Jeff Bezos's orders, and he wrote a letter explaining it. So let's take a look. Opinion, the hard truth. That's not something that Washington Post readers want. They want sweet little lies that confirm the things that they want to believe. Hey, JM, how you doing? JM says that Jeff Bezos is now unburdened by 200,000 cat ladies. What? Uh-oh. All those cat ladies are on the loose now. 200,000 cat ladies on the loose. It's like a zombie apocalypse. The hard truth, which again, apparently 200,000 Washington Post readers don't want. They've been promised they're not going to get the hard truth. They're going to hear everything they want to hear. And the second they're not getting that, they're unsubscribing. And I guess New York, they're probably New York Times readers already. So I don't know. Just watch MSNBC more, I guess. Americans don't trust the news media. A note from our owner. So this is from Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post. In the annual public surveys about trust and reputation, journalists and the media have regularly fallen near the very bottom, often just above Congress. But in this year's Gallup poll, we have managed to fall below Congress. Our profession is now the least trusted of all. Sure is. Something we are doing is clearly not working. Clearly not working. I don't know. What are you doing? Let's take a look. Let's see. So here's their election coverage, election 2024. So what are they doing that might not be working? Let's see. Trump defends New York rally where opening speakers loved racist remarks. Called jokes. A comedian told jokes. He told jokes. Former President Trump delivered remarks Tuesday in Palm Beach. Before heading to campaign in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. While in Palm Beach, Trump defended Sunday's rally at Madison Square Garden in New York, where opening speakers loved racist and sexist insults. Oh my God. Can we just have comedians and have jokes and have people act like adults? Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke about Puerto Rico being an island of floating garbage. He was referencing the fact that we've got this actually coming up in the show, later in the show. He was referencing serious problems with garbage they've been having due to like local corruption and whatnot in Puerto Rico. They know that, by the way. These people know that, but they're doing their thing of not being trusted or being trustworthy, you see? Let's see, what do we got? What's next? Hold on. Trump on comedian's insult of Puerto Rico at Sunday's rally. I can't imagine it's a big deal. Okay, yeah, but they want to keep talking about that. You'll notice here that there's not really much about Kamala. Let's see. Donald Trump did not apologize nor take responsibility for a racist remark made by a speaker. The former president's oh, God. You see a pattern here. You see a pattern. Talking about Tony Hinchcliffe. A racist remark. It's a joke. And the thing is, they're all adults. They must know that unless the woke mind virus has completely rotted their brains, which I guess that is possible. Especially despite being, working at a prestigious newspaper. I think because of it. I think working at the places like the Washington Post, New York Times actually rots your brain. It turns it into woke mush. So here's one thing. Large crowds gather on National Mall ahead of Harris's speech. Well, it doesn't look that big, to be honest. But okay, so there's something about Harris. There are negative things about her, by the way. I don't know if you guys were aware of this. But not everything about her is great. Let's see. After prison release, Bannon repeats false claim 2020 election was stolen. You see, it's going in a certain direction all the time. Then something about Harris election night headquarters will be at Howard University, Washington. So totally, just totally innocuous stuff. Donald Trump continues to paint a dark image of the country as his closing message. Dark image of the. You see, Jay, I'm seeing a pattern here. You're seeing a pattern at all. Days after insult, Trump rally. Joke! It's a fucking joke, you retards! Either they're stupid or they think that we're stupid, or I don't know, or both. Maybe they're stupid and they also think that we're stupid. I don't know. Can we just be adults? I think that's all people actually really want, right? Is it just fundamentally just to be treated like an adult by these people, to have these people to feel like they recognize that you're an adult, that you're not an idiot, that you're not a complete moron, that your brain isn't totally malleable, that, a headline from the Washington Post can't just totally reshape your mind into the progressive ideal. I think that's maybe the most insulting part of the whole thing. That's why people hate them the most, is just because of the total lack of respect that the media has for the individual. I think they just see everybody as ants, I think. Or perpetual blank slates that can just continuously be socially engineered infinitely. Let's see. John Kelly, blah, 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 suckers, losers, the uncorroborated nonsense, fascist to the core, Bob Woodward, blah, blah, blah. You see a pattern here, right? Donald Trump spoke for nearly an hour at what was supposed to be a roundtable discussion in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, turning his speaking time into a Trump speech. How come you never hear this kind of stuff about Kamala from them? Weird. It's almost like they're biased. It almost feels like they know what their readers want to see, and they just give them that. And they're not really worried about informing anybody or being objective or being real journalists or caring about journalism whatsoever. It almost feels like they're just giving the customer what the customer wants. And I get why they do it, because 200,000 subscribers immediately unsubscribed when the Washington Post didn't do that for a microsecond, right? Immediately. Oh, no, I can't take any more of this. It's literally the first thing they've done you haven't liked in 10 years. Yeah, but that's enough for me. That's the place these people are obviously at. Why is Bezos refusing to endorse? Refusing to... Maybe he's worried about a Trump presidency. I don't think he's had some epiphany or something has become more moral or ethical. Is he just maybe worried that, it's going to be a Trump? He's reading the tea leaves. Maybe he knows something we don't know. And he's like, yeah, it's definitely going to be Trump. So maybe I'll just do something now that makes me look less like a mortal enemy of Trump, perhaps. But it's strange because right before the election and nothing before, it's just business as usual right up until then. And then suddenly, actually, no, we're not going to endorse just because now we want to seem like we're objective. You can be totally unobjective. You can be totally on one side. You can be totally machine journalism right up until the week before the election. And then, and actually we're objective now. I'm not totally buying it all. I mean, it's the right thing. Newspapers shouldn't endorse a candidate if they want to see him unbiased. But anyway, let's get to the letter. Oh, by the way, before we get there, now let's get to the letter first. All right, hold on. Where the hell is it? There it is. Let me get to the chat quickly first. JJ Nevada says, why not change your paper? Wait, maybe I should start a new paper. The Mega Times. I love it. Nevada's saying, Richie, I think that Friday 7:30 start time is throwing people off. Perhaps if you start all shows at the same time, it would be easier for people to remember what the start time is. Well, it's Sundays and Tuesdays, 6, 7:30 on Fridays. Maybe I should just start them all at 6. Maybe I should. It's a good point. Let's think about it. Wanda says, I know sometimes I get confused with my busy schedule. It's hard to remember everything. It's true. And the thing is, the streams are so long. Like the Friday night stream is always at least 5 hours long, right? So that people will still find it at some point in the stream. Like if they think, oh, it's 7:30. If I started at 6 and they think, well, it's 7:30, and normally, or they're expecting it to be 7:30. Well, I'll still be going when they get on. We'll still be going for hours. Nevada says, I think that would be a great thing. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll start that this Friday. We'll ask everybody else once they join in. In the annual public surveys about trust and reputation. So this is Jeff Bezos, owner of the Washington Post. This is his letter talking about why they're not going to endorse a candidate this time. In the annual public surveys about trust and reputation, journalists and the media have regularly fallen near the very bottom, often just above Congress. But in this year's Gallup poll, we have managed to fall below Congress. Our profession is now the least trusted of all. Something we are doing is clearly not working. Well, America's trust in media remains at trend low. Trust in politics and civic institutions, highest for local and state governments, lowest for media and Congress. It's well-deserved. Well-deserved. Let's take a look. Okay, Americans' trust in mass media, 1972 to 2024. So, 1976, you had 72%. Great deal, fair amount of trust in the media. Now, it was a different world back then. Obviously, no computers, no social media, no internet. But by the time the internet had started going, it had already fallen 20 points. Maybe cable news had a part to play in that. But as you can see, it's gone down and down and down and down and down to now at this point, only 31% of people have a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the media. Not very much. That's 33%. So that's 64%. Oh, sorry. That's hold on one second. None at all. No, none whatsoever is 36%. So that is 69% of people looking, news consumers either have not very much or zero, none at all, trust in mass media. 69%. That's shocking. Only 31% actually believe them. Pretty crazy. I mean, there's a reason for this. You can see it's been going down and down and down. And it went up for a little bit, for some reason in 2018. That's really strange because I don't think I've ever seen them lie more than around that time. That was during the whole Russia collusion hoax. That was really kind of the golden age of political hoaxes, right? And ever since then, down and down and down and down and down. Maybe it was the end, like it was the whimper that the Mueller investigation went out with. Really kind of bumped people out because remember the walls were closing in. Everybody was assured the walls were closing in. Every week they're closing in. Yet they're definitely closing in now. And then, oh yeah, they didn't close in. In fact, there were no walls. The walls didn't exist. And it's just gotten worse. I think that might have been a place where people clued into the fact that maybe the media wasn't honest all the time. And then they started looking more and more and going, oh yeah, this whole fine people thing, that's not real either. I watched the whole clip. Why did they lie to me? And of course it continues on and on and on. The bloodbath, blah, blah, blah. All right. Look at this. Trust in mass media by age. 65 plus 43, which is still low. 30 to 49, 26%. And 18 to 29 is 26%. Hold on. 50 to 64 is 33. 18 to 29 is 26. So those are young people who have access to the internet, Twitter, that sort of thing. So they're being exposed to different perspectives, different news, different information. Whereas 65 plus is most likely to just be getting their news from Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC News, NBC News. All right, let's move on. We're not going to read everything because we don't need to. We must be accurate and we must be believed to be accurate. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we are failing on the second requirement. Most people believe the media is biased. Yes, because it is. It just obviously is. That's an obvious statement of fact. You can't help but have noticed it, Jeff Bezos. You own the damn paper. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality. And those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. It would be easier to blame others for our long and continuing fall in credibility, and therefore decline in impact, but a victim mentality will not help. Complaining is not a strategy. We must work harder to control what we can control to increase our credibility. Somebody needs to tell Kamala that complaining is not a strategy. Nobody told her that. The Washington Post should have told her that. Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election. Yeah, I mean, Washington Post endorses Kamala Harris. They're all of their readers are going to vote for Kamala Harris. It doesn't matter. But I think he's got a point there. No undecided voters in Pennsylvania are going to say, I'm going with newspaper A's endorsement. None. What presidential endorsements actually do is create a perception of bias, a perception of non-independence. Well, I think that they can, if you have enough newspapers all endorsing and then people hear that so they're not a Washington Post reader or New York Times Post reader or whatever, or Boston Globe reader or whatever, but they just keep hearing endorsed, it can create a sense for people who aren't politically engaged that, oh, well, that's where the smart people are going, right? So I think it can have an effect. I don't think it directly affects the people who would be subscribed to the Washington Post. Every single one of those people is going to vote for Kamala. But they also do create a perception of bias because it is obvious bias. They're picking a candidate. They're saying we are partisan. We want this candidate. It is bias. They're showing they are biased for a candidate. I mean, there's no way around that, right? I'm biased. Why would I even try to pretend that I wasn't? It doesn't mean that I'm lying or misinforming or doing malinformation, which is telling the truth, but it's just an inconvenient truth, not the Al Gore kind. Ending that. Oh, hold on. Let's move on. I wish we had made the change earlier than we did, in a moment further from the election and the emotions around it. That was inadequate planning and not some intentional strategy. You were still going to have 200,000 people unsubscribe and people quit your newspaper and people have quit because you can't just go from 100 to 0 at the snap of a finger, right? You can't say you have no reason to expect anything other than pandering from us and then go, oh, well, now we're not going to pander right now. They're going to freak out. They're going to, no, we're paying you to pander to us. We're paying you to I'm paying the Washington Post for a newspaper that will tell me exactly what I want to hear. And if you're not going to do that, in fact, here's the problem. They've been so spoiled by outlets like the Washington Post that they literally can't. They're like drug addicts, right? It's like taking away their crack for a second. No, I'm going somewhere else for my crack now. They'll find another dealer immediately. They can't wait. They need it right now. Anyway, let's continue. When it comes to the appearance of conflict of interest, I am not an ideal owner of the Post. Every day, somewhere, some Amazon executive or Blue Origin executive or someone from the other philanthropies and companies I own or invest in is meeting with government officials. I once wrote that the Post is a complexifier for me. It is, but it turns out I'm also a complexifier for the Post. So Jeff Bezos' companies are deeply entwined with the government and receive lots of money from the government. Again, that's why, you do have to wonder at his motivations here. Because it looks like Trump's probably going to win. And maybe Jeff Bezos is thinking, well, this could be a problem for me. I'll throw it on olive branch here right at the end. And we've gone through, where is it? We've gone through like their election 24th. Like this is everything in here is totally acceptable for a Trump derangement syndrome sufferer, right? They freaked out when they didn't get one thing that they wanted. I mean, it's a big thing. Let's be honest. It's a big thing, endorsement. It's not a big thing if you're not crazy, deranged. But I imagine for the Washington Post people, they're paying the Washington Post to support the thing that they support. Right? They're giving their money to the Washington Post with the expectation that the Washington Post is just going to blindly, mindlessly support the candidate they like. There's an agreement. They thought they had an agreement. We both like Kamala, so that's what we do now. They feel like they've broken the contract. Lack of credibility isn't unique to the Post. Well, it's certainly not. Our brethren newspapers have the same issue. And it's a problem not only for media, but also for the nation. Many people are turning to off-the-cuff podcasts. Off-the-cuff podcasts. Can you imagine such an awful thing? Inaccurate social media posts and other unverified news sources, which can quickly spread misinformation and deepen divisions. Oh, geez. I don't think we can live with that. Can we live with that? Let's see. From the Washington Post, let's see. Trump reiterates there will be blood. I wonder if this is really good journalism, not misleading in any way. Let's see. With his bloody comment about an immigration crackdown, Trump keeps toying with the idea of violence, even after January 6th and an assassination attempt against him. Oh, boy. Sounds pretty serious. That Trump must be a bad guy, huh? 6 months ago, Donald Trump presented us all with a Rorschach test by predicting a bloodbath if he loses the 2024 election. That's the first sentence. That's the first sentence. Now, they'll get into it in context here, but you see what they're doing? First sentence. So I wonder how many Washington Post subscribers actually just buy it for the headlines and never get past the headline or even the first paragraph. But anyway, here's the first sentence, right? Bloodbath if he loses. We all know that there's a little more to this story, right? But let's continue. Quote, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it, Trump said while discussing the economy and his tariff plan. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. You see what they're doing? If they just say, okay, do they mention auto industry in here? They don't. See, if they mention specifically he's talking about the auto industry, well, you go, oh, well, he's talking about the auto industry then. But, maybe he was talking about a bloodbath, killing everybody, while he was also talking about the economy. He's supposed to be talking about the economy, and then he just veered off into bloodbath and murdering everybody. Those on the left largely took Trump literally, citing how his supporters have risen up violently before. Those on the right argued that Trump was just speaking figuratively. The latter said he was talking about a metaphorical bloodbath. So he might have just been talking metaphorically. They still didn't tell us what he's actually talking about, by the way. We're like 4 paragraphs in. But according to the Washington Post, the point is less about what he specifically meant than that Trump continues to unmistakably toy with the prospect of righteous violence. Something that we well know can inflame his supporters. The point is less about what he specifically meant. You'd think what he specifically meant might matter to a journalist. Maybe the journalist's job is to actually inform people, the readers, what he actually meant, or put it in context so they can make that out for themselves, which they don't do here. This feels like misinformation or disinformation. This feels very dishonest and biased. Let's see. Many people are turning to off-the-cuff podcasts, inaccurate social media posts, and other unverified news sources, which can quickly spread misinformation and deepen divisions. That's you, Washington Post. That's your newspaper, Jeff Bezos. You're talking about yourself. I'm telling you, I will absolutely 100% prefer off-the-cuff podcasts, social media posts, and other unverified news sources. Unverified by who? By you? I don't think you're qualified to verify anything. Holy shit. The Washington Post and New York Times win prizes. Didn't they win a bunch of prizes for the Russiagate hoax? I think they did, didn't they? I think they did. But increasingly, we talk only to a certain elite. And more we talk to ourselves. It wasn't always this way. In the 1990s, we achieved 80% household penetration in the DC metro area. Yeah, you were talking to yourselves then as well. None of this feels very sincere to me, I have to say, from Bezos. Now, more than ever, the world needs a credible, trusted, independent voice. And where better for that voice to originate than the capital city of the most important country in the world? To win this fight, we will have to exercise new muscles. Some changes will be a return to the past, and some will be new inventions. Criticism will be part and parcel of anything new, of course. This is the way of the world. None of this will be easy, but it will be worth it. I don't believe any of this. I don't believe a word that we're seeing here. I am so grateful to be a part of this endeavor. Many of the finest journalists you'll find anywhere work at the Washington Post, and they work painstakingly every day to get to the truth. They deserve to be believed. Okay. You can't be completely discredited and also have fine journalists who are working painstakingly every day to get to the truth. It seems like what they're doing, it seems like what they're paid for is to manipulate the readers. At the very least, to just give the readers what they want. Whether it's true or not, whether it's misleading or disinformation. Again, the Washington Post was trash right up until the moment, and still is, in fact, because we just took a look at today's Washington Post, right? Trash the entire time through, right up until and including and past the time when they decided that Jeff Bezos decided not to endorse a candidate. So why didn't he do something? What is he going to do? He hasn't done anything. That's the first thing that he's done, right? To try and prove his lack of bias. Where was any of that? I mean, we're supposed to believe that it actually is going to change. This wasn't just kind of a stunt. Maybe he's a bit worried about Trump getting in. Not buying it. What do we got here? The Washington Post is a reminder of the dangers of billionaire ownership. So they're freaking out because they didn't endorse Kamala Harris. Now, if they had endorsed Trump, that also would have been a reminder of the dangers of billionaire. It's not about endorsing, not endorsing. They should endorse, they shouldn't. It's like, no, there's one party. It could be Kamala Harris. It could have been Biden. It could have been a canned ham. Doesn't matter. They just have to be endorsed. And if they're not, then it's a problem that it's owned by a billionaire. If they did, then it's no problem. It's only a problem if the billionaire isn't actively bending the knee and promoting whoever the Democrat is. Homeless, crack-addicted guy that was appointed by the elites. Whoever, right? Again, I feel at this point they could just literally pick up anybody. It could be a dog. It could be a frog. It could just be an inanimate object. It could be a canned ham or like an ashtray, whatever. The Washington Post is a reminder of the dangers. The Washington Post is a reminder of the dangers of billionaire ownership, not endorsing can of ham. It's from The Guardian, by the way, which is irredeemably left-wing UK newspaper. Terrible newspaper. So there we have it. And now they've lost over 200,000 subscribers because they did one thing that those subscribers didn't like. They didn't get their hit, the hit they've been waiting for, that endorsement, that crack news hit they've been waiting for, that endorsement of Kamala. It would have felt so good. They knew it was coming. They knew just literally anything, anybody or inanimate object or even just concept. Maybe the next Democratic nominee will just be a concept. It'll just be gender theory will be the nominee. There's no need for a primary. Gender theory, the concept, has already wrapped it up. It's already got the delegates. Anyway, yeah, it's all crazy. And it's hilarious, and I'm happy to watch it. All right. I'm going to clean up a few of these tabs because we got a lot of tabs. Let's see. What was this one? Washington Post. Give me a break. Let's get rid of this one here too. I might use these graphs though later on. Hold on. I might be inspired to use them. Jeff Bezos. All right. Do we need that? I don't think so. Let's get rid of this too. And this one. We can always find it again. And actually, you know what? Let's go here now. And I need to take a sip. Let's get to a palate cleanser for a second. Hold on. There we go. I think I need some more rant juice. I'm going to have to get up and make some rant juice in a second. Let's get to the chat for a sec here. Let's see. Who we got? Oh, we got lots of chat going on now. Oh, there's lots. Okay. Maybe I was just rambling for a really long time. Let's see. From Jham, first draft of Bezos's letter. I can't endorse that empty-headed Marxist Trump might win. I suspect there's maybe a bit of that in there for sure. I don't see what it's hard to explain his sudden change of heart. Let's see. Xerxes asking, have you heard the Switch exit Kamala Barbie? I have seen it. I have. It's funny. I might have it somewhere hidden away in one of my bookmarks, in the Kamala bookmark. I might have to look for it later. Let's see. Xerxes says, maybe if Rogan provides a bartender, she would show being Kamala Harris. I agree. He's got some anti-anxiety meds and some martinis. Nevada says, yeah, and some blow. Ooh, spicy. Spicy. But yes, 100%. I heard there's going to be something coming out about some sex tape of Kamala and what was his name? The guy, the TV guy. What the hell was his name again? You guys tell me in the chat. What was his name? The guy she was dating at like the talk show in the afternoon. That's probably not going to happen, but there's a lot of just kind of stuff that's not true that gets out. Maybe though, maybe we'll see something tonight. Sounds like you guys want me to start like about 6 o'clock every stream, including Fridays. Xerxes is campaigning door to door. Phone bank. Good for you. Awesome. You get some applause for that. Let's see. Hold on, people. Just gonna scoot through the chat. Hey, we got Rosie in the chat. Good to see you. Uh-oh, still at work? Uh-oh. Sorry to be so distracting. All right. I'm just going to. All right, here we go. Let's just move on. Let's move on to the next story. So, boy, oh boy, things get weird, huh? I think what we're going to do right now is that we're going to, we always start streaming on both YouTube and Rumble. And we cut off the YouTube about an hour in, hour and a half in sometimes at the long end of it, an hour and a half. We cut that off because censorship problems with YouTube. And it's just the way it is. So I encourage anybody who's watching on YouTube right now to join us on Rumble. I'm sure you got the app on your smart TV already, or your Roku or Apple TV or Fire Stick, whatever, on your phone, computer, wherever you watch it. Just jump over and take you 3 seconds. Then you're here. And there's always way more people on Rumble, and the chat's way busier, and we have a good time. Just come over here. The water's great. Otherwise, we'll see you Friday night. See you later.